Episode 6 of Suburban Death Metal Dad Recommends, and this time I'm talking about the band Coroner. So it would have been 1988 when I first heard them. There was a compilation by Noise Records called Doomsday News, and a bunch of killer tracks on that, and one of them happened to be Coroner Arrogance in Uniform, which is basically a unreleased track from the RIP sessions, because it doesn't appear on the album. And I was kind of blown away by that one because the skill on that, the technical playing, the guitar, Tommy T. Barron, is pretty high level for the time. And, the bass playing, Ron Royce, bassist vocalist, also very much enjoyed his playing, highly skilled bass player. Although it wasn't until a little bit later that they released Punishment for Decadence, also in 1988, and had a music video for the song Masked Jackal on MTV. And, I recorded that and watched it over and over again. Just a totally killer song. And so actually that was the first one I ended up getting, was Punishment for Decadence. And a lot of cool songs on that. Absorbed, of course, Masked Jackal, Skeleton on Your Shoulder, Arc Light, Sudden Fall, New Breed, some of the songs I really like on that one. And so it was maybe a little bit later, ended up getting RIP, their debut album. Also very good, Reborn Through Hate is a great track. They open with that one. And When Angels Die is very cool. Fried Alive, Toten Tense, And I was very impressed with Coroner, and definitely a fan. And so in 1989 they released another great album, their third album, called No More Color, and also I'd say this is a little bit step up in the production, maybe a little bit of a better production, but not too much different than the previous two. Still totally killer playing, great tracks. Die by My Hand, DOA, Tunnel of Pain, and The Last Entertainment, that basically instrumental with spoken word. They made a video for that one. And they're just going along, making great technical thrash. I think they've gotten a decent amount of attention. And going now into 1991, and the band releases their fourth album, Mental Vortex, and maybe a bit more mature on this one. Still great songs. Divine Step, the opening track, About Life, Pale Sister, Semtex Revolution, Metamorphosis, very cool track. And they do a cover of I Want You from the Beatles, which turns out to be pretty cool. I like that better than they did a cover of Purple Haze on Punishment for Decadence, which I didn't really care for that. I mean, they did a fine job covering it, but I don't know. Didn't care for it so much. I like the I Want You cover on Mental Vortex much better. And then we come to 1993, and it was actually the person I worked with at the time had asked me if I wanted to buy this cassette from him. And he said, and I'll never forget this, he said, Cornhead Grin. And I was like, I really didn't know what he was talking about. But he ended up bringing it in and showing it to me, and it was Coroner Grin. Even though he called it Cornhead, I don't know why. That was like pretty funny to me. But so I ended up buying it from him, and hadn't heard anything from it, and this time, still in the thrash, but more so into death metal. So I think that album Grin kind of passed me by. That's why I kind of didn't necessarily just go out on my own to pick it up, but to be honest, I listen to this one a lot. It's different. It's not just straight ahead thrash. Um, I mean, even on Mental Vortex, you could see, you know, it was getting a little bit more mature, and not in a bad way, but not as thrashy. And this is like basically the next step, Grin. But I really, really like this album. I don't know if I would say it's my favorite Coroner, but it's definitely one of them. You know, I listen to that one, like I said, a lot to this day. I would say more so than the other ones, even though I do still listen to the other albums. And like I said, it's different. You know, it's technical, but it's got some, you know, progressive elements, a lot of atmosphere, a little bit of sampling here and there, but it's still a metal record, in my opinion. It's just Coroner doing their own thing, you know, and it's, in my opinion, it's not like commercial or anything. So I feel it's one that's worth checking out. So that's 1993. Come 1995, they release like a self-titled album that has some new songs on it, but also, I don't know if you call it like a best of, but there's other tracks from other albums on it. Um, you know, they probably could have just released like an EP with these new tracks and then left it at that. But anyway, it's a full length, but it's a mix of new tracks and some older tracks. And I like the new tracks. It's basically a continuation of Grin. It's, you know, very much in the same vein. It's not really a big step away from that sound. So, I mean, if you like Grin, which I do, those songs fit right in. And so, and then in about 1996, I guess it was, the band broke up. 2010, they reunited, started doing live shows, and you know, very happy about that. The Coroner got back together and started playing again. And eventually, Marcus Markey, the drummer, had left, and he was replaced with a guy named Diego. And he's been with the band playing drums ever since. And they ended up like re-releasing 5 albums. And I picked those up, even though I have all the originals. And I wasn't totally thrilled with the remaster. They sounded a bit, I don't know, I just didn't like it as much as the originals. You know, normally the remasters are, you know, they just beef up the sound or whatever, but yeah, just the way they EQ'd it or whatever it is, I wasn't totally thrilled with those. And they also re-released them as vinyl. And so I picked, you know, those up as well, at least some of them. And they also ended up doing a DVD and another set. Basically, it was DVDs with a CD titled Autopsy, as well as vinyl and Blu-rays. Also as Autopsy is the name of the release. And so of course I picked those up, and it's very cool. You got a DVD or a Blu-ray with basically interview called Rewind. You know, basically they interview the band members. And there's also a reunion section, which is live tracks from different concerts. It's not just one concert. As well as they released a VHS from the No More Color tour back in the 90s, and then that show is also on this set, this Autopsy set. So it's cool to have that, as well as their music videos. Before that, I'd actually gotten Death Cult demo, which is, you know, infamous in that Tom G. Warrior from Celtic Frost does vocals on that release, and it also has some bonus tracks on it. So basically, you know, for me, Coroner is just an excellent technical thrash band, and you know, they have been talking for years and years about releasing a new album. I don't know how far back that goes, at least since 2017, if I'm not mistaken, maybe even earlier. They talked about writing and possibly recording. curious what it's going to sound like after all this time. I mean, the last new material they did came out in 1995 on that self-titled album. I'll go ahead and show some cool stuff that I have from the band, and basically starting with where it started with the band was the demo, the Death Cult demo, and that's a pretty cool cover in my opinion. I like that. Like I said, this one has the demo plus some bonus tracks on it, including Arrogance in Uniform and Hate Fire Blood, which was a unreleased track from Punishment for Decadence, which was previously released on a compilation, the Doomsday News Part 2. So, talking about those, that's the Doomsday News 1 as Arrogance in Uniform, and then Doomsday News Part 2, which has the song Hate Fire Blood from the Punishment for Decadence sessions. And that's a really cool track. It's not very long, it's less than 2 minutes, but it's really good. I like it a lot. And of course there's the RIP CD. And, Punishment for Decadence, the I guess it's the US version cover, because there's another cover for this album, which I think is the one that's preferred by the band. I'm not sure how they ended up with two different covers, but No More Color. Like I said, this is a really good album as well. Mental Vortex, 1991. And like I said, here's 1993's Grin, which I like this one a lot. And like I said, it's different, but you know, if you're not just solely focused on hearing technical thrash from Coroner, definitely worth checking out. And then that self-titled release that has new tracks and basically various tracks from previous releases. The new tracks being Benway's World, which is kind of just a short intro, it's less than a minute. The Favorite Game, Shifter, Snow Crystal, which is also a short instrumental, and Gliding Above While Being Below is a new song, and then Golden Cashmere Sleeper Part 1 and Golden Cashmere Sleeper Part 2 are also the newer songs. So it's you know, I think it's worth getting, you know. It's got, like I said, enough new tracks to make it worthwhile. And I mentioned the Autopsy DVDs, and then there's also a CD that's basically like, I don't know if you want to call it a best of, but it's got 8 tracks from I guess all their albums up to that point, yeah. And then, like I said, reunion live tracks, and then basically, I don't know if you'll call it like a documentary called Rewind. And also the reissues from 2018, No More Color, Mental Vortex, Grin, and that Autopsy release, the vinyl version with Blu-rays. See, last but not least, and I just got these recently, even though they came out in 2022. I actually saw them in a record store because I didn't even know these were out. And these are gold edition remasters of got Punishment for Decadence with the other album cover, No More Color, and RIP. And like I said, I just got these a few months ago, maybe 3 months ago, 2-3 months ago, and haven't even listened to them yet, but eventually I will. So there you have it. Coroner, excellent technical thrash from Switzerland.